Estate planning is one of those things that almost no one wants to think about. But here's the reframe that changes everything. This is not really about death. It's about love. It's about making sure the people that you care about are looked after and the legacy you spent a lifetime building ends up exactly where you want it to. A good estate plan is one of the most thoughtful gifts that you can leave your family because it spares them the confusion and conflict at the hardest possible moment. So today's video, I'm going to answer the most common estate planning questions and help you understand what it means for you and your family. My name is Quentin Chambers. I'm a financial planner and portfolio manager. And over the last decade, I've dedicated my life's work to helping Canadian families find financial clarity and peace of mind. What are the biggest estate planning pitfalls to avoid? This is a great place to start because avoiding a few common mistakes makes our whole plan dramatically more effective. Here's the biggest ones that I see. The first is failing to update your plan. It's important to remember that life moves. Marriage, divorce, a new child, all of these bring big changes to your finances. And every one of these should trigger a review of your overall estate. An out-of-date plan can quietly produce outcomes that you never intended. The second is overlooking your beneficiary designations. This one surprises a lot of people, but it's important to remember assets like your insurance or your retirement accounts can pass directly to whoever you name as beneficiary, completely bypassing your will. But if those beneficiary designations are stale and your will doesn't reflect what your wishes actually are, then unfortunately your assets won't go to the people that you want them to. The third is planning for incapacity. Now, it's important to remember estate planning is not just about death. Become unable to manage your own affairs, you don't have a power of attorney or healthcare directive in place, your family can get caught in legal hurdles just trying to help you out. This is completely avoidable. The fourth, and unfortunately the most common, is ignoring tax implications. Taxes can take a real bite out of what you leave behind. That's why building tax-efficient strategies is how you preserve more of your estate for the people that you actually want to receive it. And the fifth, the one that gets people in trouble the most, do-it-yourself estate planning. Online templates are out there and they do look easy, but they often miss out complexities of your real situation. That's why working with a qualified estate planning lawyer is how you make sure your plan is comprehensive, valid, and actually does what you want it to do. This is not a place to cut corners. Why do I need a will and power of attorney? These two documents are the foundation of any estate plan, and they do two very different jobs. Let's start with explaining the purpose of a will. A will is a document that spells out how your assets are going to be distributed after you pass. If you pass away without one, provincial law decides this for you using a formula that may look nothing like what you actually want. Your will also lets you do two deeply important things: name guardians for your minor children and set out your funeral wishes. Those are decisions that you want to make, not leave it to a court. And then the power of attorney. This document names someone you trust to manage your financial and legal affairs if you become unable to do it yourself. It keeps your life running through a difficult time, handed by a person you choose, and it prevents costly delays and potential court involvement. Together, these two documents bring clarity and direction at exactly the time your family needs it most. They are the bare minimum and they matter enormously. How can I minimize tax burden on my estate in Manitoba? Here's some good news. If you're in Manitoba, Manitoba eliminated probate fees in 2020. So unlike provinces like Ontario or BC, you're not facing a probate tax year. The probate process still exists, and there are some costs like legal and court filing fees, but probate itself is completely gone. That said, tax efficiency still matters a great deal because other taxes can affect your estate. So let's look at a few different strategies. First, make use of your tax advantage accounts during your working years. Because of beneficiary designations, if you maximize your RSPs and TFSAs, having a well-funded and well-structured set of registered accounts can make a cornerstone of an efficient estate because it passes directly to your beneficiaries. Second is consider gifting your assets during your lifetime. Transferring assets to your beneficiaries while you're alive can reduce the size of your estate and the taxes tied to it, and you also get to see your beneficiaries enjoy the benefit of those gifts. But it is important to be aware certain gifts can trigger income tax consequences of its own, so it's important to be done thoughtfully with proper advice. Third, and especially if you have a larger estate, where it fits, establish trust. Trust can give you control over how and when your assets are distributed, and they can offer some tax benefits as well. For example, something called a qualifying spousal trust can defer taxes until the final surviving spouse passes away. Fourth is charitable donations. If you're giving to registered charities, it can help generate tax credits that meaningfully reduce the overall tax burden to your overall estate while supporting causes that you care about. And then fifth, a tool that does double duty: life insurance. Life insurance proceeds are generally tax-free, and they provide liquidity right when your estate needs it to cover taxes or debts without having to sell off any assets in a hurry. It is one of the most efficient ways to preserve the rest of your estate and keep everything intact. As always, everyone's situation is going to be unique, so it's important that you speak with the proper legal and tax advisors before acting on any of this. How do I plan for long-term care needs? This is becoming one of the most important pieces of estate planning, and it's also one of the most overlooked. As we're living longer, the chances of you or your spouse that will need some form of long-term care keeps rising. So planning for it protects your finances as well as your dignity. So here's how you should approach it. First is assess the potential cost. Now, care exists on a spectrum from in-home help all the way to full nursing home care, and that cost varies enormously. Once you understand the range and how it can impact your estate, you'll have a good starting point. Second is looking at long-term care insurance. The right policy can help cover the expenses, which can help protect your assets, and just as importantly, give you choice and control over the kind of care you want to receive. Third is set up a healthcare power of attorney. This helps you appoint someone to make medical decisions on your behalf if you can't, so your care reflects your values and your wishes, not someone else's guesses at them. And fourth, tie it all together with a proper financial plan. Working with a proper financial planner to deliberately set aside funds for potential long-term care, balance against your long-term goals, is so important. When care is planned for in advance, a health event becomes something you're ready for instead of a crisis that threatens everything else that you've built. So here's the heart of it. When you address these pieces, like understanding your common pitfalls, having your core documents in place, thinking about tax efficiency and your long-term care needs, you can create a plan that truly reflects your wishes and ultimately preserve more of what you've built and prepare for whatever the future holds. And that's the real gift. Not the assets themselves, but the clarity and peace of mind you leave behind for the people you love. And if you're ready to secure your legacy and protect your family's future, there's a link to book a free introductory meeting in the description. As always, thanks for listening. And until the next one, take care.